Okay, we're live.
The December 13, 2021 Township of Aleppo Workshop meeting will come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Patty.
President Jones,
President by telephone.
Vice President Williams,
Here.
Commissioner Darrow,
Present.
Commissioner Richard,
Present.
Solicitor Stone,
Present.
and Manager Patterson.
Just a reminder to everyone that our meetings are recorded and are streamed online, so pay attention to what you're doing. I'll entertain a motion to approve the legislative meeting minutes from November 15.
Motion to approve the November 15th, 2021 legislative meeting minutes.
Second.
Any discussion or comment? All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. Gwen, you want to take care of the budget?
So what you have in your packet is the actual ordinance that adopts the budget. That has to be adopted by ordinance by the end of the year. We have to set the millage and then adopt the ordinance. So you have both of those ordinances in your packet. It's the same as we do every year, we just update them. And they will be voted on next week because that's when they were advertised for. So
Okay.
there have been no significant changes to the budget since we discussed it last month.
Right, you also want to talk about the tractor.
So the tractor, this is the one that Tim had mentioned at the last meeting, and he's looking to order this one, and we were asking for a motion tonight instead of next week, just so he can get the order submitted before the holidays and the end of the year. So if you're willing to make that motion.
I'm willing to motion to purchase the John Deere X739 signature tractor and 54-inch edge extra mower deck from M&R Power Equipment Group for $10,874.84.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions?
When, question, are we using, what's it called, the state piggyback bidding? Or
It's under the, he did get 3 phone quotes, so it falls.
he does have the 3?
He does have 3 phone quotes, and this was the lowest one, actually written quotes, but yes.
Good, okay.
Yep.
Just double check.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Back to you, Gwen, on the new business.
New business. So another thing that we've been talking about since the refinance in 2020, the sewer bond refinance, was some of the savings that we would get from the sewer refinance. And there was discussion of, and I think we talked about this in March here, about making an annual contribution to the authority budget to help forestall certain kinds of other costs that they may incur. And there was discussion amongst this board that would be a good use of the sewer bond savings. We cannot use it for just general township purposes, it's in a separate account. And so this resolution is laying out the terms, basically saying that the board would revisit this at the end of every year and determine whether or not that sewer bond account has sufficient funds to make an annual contribution to the authority for next year. So it's laying out the terms.
And what the amount would be.
And the amount will be determined each year. We're not setting a specific amount in the resolution. This year, the conversation was $40,000, since it's the first year savings. That is in the account, and that would be a fine amount to transfer this year. So next week, if you vote on this resolution and approve it, we'll get the check to them for the end of the year for this year, and then we'll talk about next year what the contribution would be. This resolution is laying out the policy for making that contribution. And it's not binding this board or future boards because it's not setting a schedule forever. It's saying we'll revisit this every year to make sure that we can afford to make this contribution.
And no set amount.
All right.
No set amount.
Even the making of any contribution is discretionary with future boards, so.
So this will be on the agenda for next week, but that's what this would be, so.
Any questions? We're just going to vote on that next week, right?
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance on the weight limits on township roads.
So this is something that the engineers had been working on a study because we'd had some residents concerned about certain kinds of construction traffic and things happening on Weber Road and some of the other roads up in that area, that neighborhood. So the engineers completed a study and determined that it would be prudent to set a weight limit on certain, a 10-ton weight limit on certain roads up in that neighborhood. Weber Road, Ferndale, Weber Road Extension, Sycamore Extension, and Ingleside Avenue. This ordinance has not yet been advertised. This is just put on here for you to see it, to have the conversation, to make sure you want to go forward. We would not vote on it next week. We would vote on it in either January or February. I am not well versed in the technical aspects of the study, so that would be something where we would have one of the engineers come in and just kind of answer any questions for you. But we just, since it's ready here, you kind of read it, get familiar with it, so then when Dan or Dan, the other engineer, come in and talk about it, you'll have some familiarity with what it is that the goal is.
We should also talk then about how it might be enforced.
Yes, and this is not going to prevent any trucks from traveling on it. What it does is set a weight limit and then require them to get a special permit and certain road bonding if they need to exceed this weight limit. It's not a prohibition on people driving on it, they just procedures if they need to exceed the weight limit.
Any questions?
Um,
So we'll have the
That'll-
engineer here on next week, and
I don't even know if he'll be here next week. He might be here in January for us to vote in February. It's
Okay.
getting close to the holiday and it's hard to schedule everything, so.
Right.
We'll talk about that. That'll just carry over onto a future agenda.
You want to talk about the change to our workshop meeting in January?
So in your packet, you also have the meeting dates for 2022, both the workshop and the commissioners meeting. And wanted to point out two things. We have to have a reorganization meeting every year after a municipal election. So that has to be the first Monday of the new year. So that means our meeting will be January 3rd. And instead of having a meeting January 3rd, January 10th, and then whatever the other one is, having 3 weeks in a row, we can combine the reorganization and the workshop. So we would have the reorganization business, which is a lot of just appointing. Then any workshop business would be on January 3rd. And then nothing on the regular day. Dave, sorry, I forgot to bring this up to you earlier. And then the regular legislative meeting on the regular date. So if you could get on your calendars that we do need to meet on January 3rd. And Magistrate Ford will be here at 7:15 to swear in anyone who won re-election. So I can't remember, Patty, do you remember if they have to contact the magistrate's office in advance or did?
She didn't say when I scheduled. but
Yeah, we just scheduled, we had to submit, anyone who was re-elected submit names, so I'll let you know if there's something that you need to do in advance. I think you just have to show up and they have everything. The other thing I wanted to point out on the commissioners' meetings for your schedule for 2022 is a reminder that the March legislative meeting is not the Monday, it's the third Tuesday. It was, the motion was made a couple years ago to change that to accommodate the Manor Board meeting, so remember, as you're putting it in your calendar, that the March legislative meeting will be the third Tuesday, not the third Monday of the month. And these dates are posted outside the building. We have a message board outside the building. They'll be on the website. They'll be on the calendar on the website. But just so if you're getting things entered into calendars now, that's the change.
Okay. Any citizen participation?
My name is Barb Black, and the reason I'm here today is because I had addressed an email back in November as a result of one of the meetings that you had. And it was not read at the following meeting, and I was wondering why, because it was my understanding that emails that residents wrote in would be part of the package of the meeting.
That was me. I did not print it out for the
Okay.
meeting because I emailed with you and talked with you.
We did,
So
we
we
did.
addressed,
We
you
did.
mentioned it, that we had had the
Yes, you
conversation,
did.
but I did not bring it into the room to read it, so.
I'm here to read it.
All right, thank
Okay.
you, Barb.
And just to clarify something, George Jones, back on, I believe it was September 16th of 2019, this very subject of reading emails came up by my husband Don Black on that day, and you can go back to that meeting and take a look on YouTube. And George said that the reason Don's email was not read was a result that he did not follow policy and procedure. And it was his fault. He didn't. He was supposed to have addressed it to you, and he did not. He addressed it to George. So that was his faux pas. So going forward, we made sure that we addressed it to Gwen. This particular email, as a courtesy, I copied George, okay? And he need not respond, and he didn't, but you did, and I appreciate that. But anyway, I'd like to read the email, and then I have two other real quick observations I'd like to make. I said, "Hi Gwen, it's Barb Black. Hope all is well with you and yours. After watching the YouTube version of the workshop meeting, I was disappointed and decided to share my observations. I have no dog in this fight regarding the emergency evacuation for the manor. I agree safety is of the utmost importance to all. Not much citizen participation. Perhaps that's because citizens are weary of addressing the same old issues meeting after meeting and year after year. I recall when this was discussed many moons ago with no resolution. I also recall when speed was a factor on Weber Road. We were going to paint some lines to slow folks down. The commission recommended neighbors knock on neighbors' doors and ask them to slow down. I found that laughable, but I bit my tongue. This is 2021. It's just not safe to knock on somebody's door and approach them about an unpleasant situation. Had something bad happened, right, it would have been the citizens' fault for addressing the issue and not having left it in the hands of the professionals. Speeding continues to be an issue on Weber, but the good news is the kids have grown and they are now more traffic aware. As for the proposed green space park, again, if one waits long enough, sometimes the issue will correct itself. The kids who were once interested learned a valuable lesson. Local government moves at a snail's pace. The kids who were once excited are now grown, and the need is no more. So we can cross that off the list too. How many times during the meeting, Gwen, were you asked if you wrote to the 4 or 5 local residents whose property would be impacted? 2 or 3 times were you asked? You indicated the residents were adamant that they purchased the property for privacy and they weren't interested. Maybe, just maybe, they moved where they moved to keep their kids safe. If they wanted to live in a community environment, perhaps they would have purchased property in the manor. The tone of the meeting is actually why I was writing. The discussion began with a let's reach out, but it ended with what I perceived to be a lecture to the impacted residents. Almost aggressive and borderline threatening. All sticks, no carrots. It was not a kumbaya moment. If I were one of the impacted residents, I would not have appreciated being addressed in that manner. Speaking of manor, that's just one more thought. Several of our commissioners reside in the manor. While I'm sure this is not the case, the optics may appear that they move more diligently when they have a vested interest. I realize the response may be, well, anybody can run for commissioner, and only those in the manor take the time to do so and make the effort. Could it be that concerned citizens try to become involved, and when they try to make an effort, it doesn't go anywhere? I also understand it's easy to identify problems and complain rather than take action and make a difference. I get that. I would urge everyone who physically participated in this meeting last month to watch it again on YouTube. How would you perceive the evacuation discussion? What could have been done differently? Evacuation of the manor is a very serious issue. The safety of all of our residents is critical. And this isn't just, this is me editorializing here. This isn't just the manor. It's Weber Road, McCoy. It's also over in the place across the street.
Yes.
Yeah, the village. So it's not just the manor's residents that are important. We're all important. We all live here because we like it here and we want to take care of each other. Anyway, are there really no other evacuation alternatives? Perhaps the commissioners could meet with the impacted residents. Will this too sit on a shelf until the problem goes away, or until the impacted residents move and take up, you can take it up with the new residents who purchased the property. That seems to be the strategy. Then I thanked Gwen for taking the time to read my novel. We watched the YouTube meetings religiously and are delighted that you and Matt made them happen. They're a great way to keep us informed and memorialize the issues and discussions. Stay safe, enjoy the holidays, and thank you for all you do. Barb Black. And that's enough said. I don't need to go into that. I just want to know if there's a change in reading emails. Please let us know what it is, because we need to follow procedure. Okay, whatever that is, we need to do it. So we'll let that go. I've said enough. Two other quick things. The last couple meetings, it seems there have been a lot of references to people on a first-name basis. People like Peter and Norman. And I said to Dawn, I think I used to listen to them in the 60s. They had a great singing group. Who are these people? Do they live over in the manor? What are we talking about? And what I'm learning is we're using first-name basis a lot because you guys are familiar with these folks. I recognize that. I appreciate that. But if you could kind of think of your audience a little more, because we don't all live in the same space. I could come here today and talk about Brenna Renee and Declan and Killian, and I could go on and on. You have no idea who I'm talking about. It's not fair to you or us. We need to understand. If you don't want to use a last name, at least maybe you could say an engineer or somebody that's doing some kind of work for us, just so we know who you're talking about. And finally, I was wondering if we have anything like a project management list that I looked all over the website and I couldn't find one. Something as simple as a Gantt chart, a spreadsheet, anything that says these are the projects we're working on. This is where we are right now. This is why this isn't getting done, because it can't. This is why this is delayed because of this issue. This is going to meet the target. And then we wouldn't have to keep asking you over and over and over the same questions.
That's an excellent suggestion. We have talked about it in the past. we have like an internal one with a lot
Do
of
ya?
little details, but it can be easily modified and put on the website with like some of the most recent
That's great,
updates.
because you know what, Gwen,
Absolutely.
honestly, sometimes when we watch these on YouTube, the same questions come over and over and over and over again. And I'm thinking, does nobody pay attention? Does nobody know we talked about this before and this is where it was? But then someone might say to you, well, Gwen, did we write a letter? You write a lot of letters, okay? And I don't need to tell you that. You know that. So if you could do something like that, that would be really appreciated.
Sure.
But anyway, thank you for all you do, Gwen. You knock yourself out all the time, and you responded to me as quickly as you were just like Johnny on the spot. So thank you very much, and have a nice holiday.
Yes.
Okay?
And I apologize for not reading it in the meeting.
You
It's
don't
been a
need
while
to
and I just-
apologize.
yeah.
You don't need to apologize.
We'll make sure that.
That's the only
we get
reason
that.
I came today. Have a nice Christmas, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to repeat a lot of what she said, but we do live together, so that's liable to happen. You made me leave my house tonight because emails are no longer read from Aleppo citizens. I think it's very important. It used to happen. It hasn't been happening. And like she said, I'm just repeating that. But having said that, it's good to see everybody after such a long absence. Glad to be here. Safety has always been and continues to be a signature issue for me. The safety of my loved ones, family, friends, and neighbors is of utmost importance. I say this because of personal experience. My concern doesn't begin and end on Weber Road. I am concerned for all my friends and neighbors in Aleppo Township. I and other concerned citizens came here over 4 years ago to request action to address speeding on Weber Road. 4 years. We were concerned for the safety of the children mostly, who rode their bikes, scooters, and played on the road. These kids who are 12 and 9 now were 8 and 5 then. They're still playing in the street. And in March of 2019, almost 3 years ago, Chief Haney stood here and suggested traffic calming methods such as painted traffic calming lines, signage, and a double yellow line. May 20th, same year, 2019. Traffic calming lines were discussed once again. July 15th, 2019. HRG was authorized to revise a plan using line painting to address traffic calming paint lines on McCoy and Weber. HRG was to revise the pavement marking plan to show double yellow lines along Weber all the way to Parkway and obtain 3 quotes. At a following meeting, it was discussed that 2 quotes were obtained and we were waiting for a third. Again, 3 years. I bring up these directives to demonstrate that none of these actions have happened. Regarding speeding on Weber Road, Chief Haney and Chief Miklos before him, to their credit, installed speed limit monitors on Weber a couple of times, but no traffic calming lines, nor signage, nor double lines were painted. Double yellow lines. We have yet to get a watch children sign authorized and installed in a 400 block of Weber where speeding initiates. It's been 33 months, almost 3 years, since the chief suggested these safety measures to protect our citizens, especially the children. During the past 2 meetings, discussions were held proposing an escape route for the manor. Proposals include paving a private road at taxpayers' expense. In addition to expenses already incurred, such as title search, engineer's fees, drawings, a rough draft of easement, the township is now recommending cutting down 2 trees, build a barrier such as a gate, pave a very long road, plus installing a transition between the 2 roads, which would be another expense and labor costs. And this is assuming there's no sewer lines, gas lines, any other lines would have to be relocated. And I do understand the concern for an alternative exit for the manor. I perceived a threatening and condescending attitude was being taken toward the residents whose property borders the manor. Unfortunately, the people mostly included in this statement aren't here. Their rights and concerns appear to be of little or no importance. These residents, who I do not know, seem to have purchased and built their homes on this wooded lot for the privacy and safety of their children and family members. And this is an appropriate time to mention a few additional points. There is not an emergency exit out of McCoy. Is the township going to provide an emergency exit for those residents as well? There's barely a safe exit out of Weber. Although recently paved, Sycamore is more of a goat trail. I would not want to be driving on Sycamore during icy conditions. Can a fire truck negotiate Sycamore? I really don't know. I was advised school buses don't even go down Sycamore. There are thousands of cul-de-sacs, dead-end roads, and plans. Such as manors without exits. And we researched best practices to learn how other townships and communities deal with this common issue. In summary, I've researched and provided facts, dates, and documented many of the items that have not yet been provided to Weber residents. I ask you to reconsider alternatives to the manor escape route so as not to invade residents' privacy and property. I have never known this body to act in a domineering manner. The optics may appear as though if there are no commissioners residing on Weber, Weber can wait. However, if there are 3 commissioners residing in the manor, we'll get it done our way. That's my opinion, and that's not a good look. Anybody have anything for me?
Thank you.
Mark?
Thank you very much for that
Thank you.
information.
Anyone else?
No, he's good.
Any need for executive session tonight, Harlan?
No.
Okay. That being the case, we're adjourned.